Welcome on in, everybody. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. We have made it, everybody. Miami Dolphins training camp week is here. Hot damn, we missed football. I've definitely taken a backseat on football videos. I just didn't have like, hey, let's do Tua watch every single day. Lord knows we're going to do plenty of that. And I actually have an idea that I will get to in another video I'm going to do today on really where we need to go with the whole Tua thing. Otherwise, we could just shut the hell up. But pretty monster news happened yesterday for your Miami Dolphins. And that was that Shaq Barrett, boom, right as we're getting ready for training camp, the Miami Dolphins edge rusher retires. He retired yesterday, put a long statement out on social media, and it was interesting because what was it, a day beforehand? Maybe it was 2 days beforehand. I was away. But Kenyon Drake had retired. And you're just like, geez, Kenyon Drake retired? Whew. Kenyon Drake, of course, the author of the Miami Miracle, he retired. Former Miami Dolphins running back, and now Shaq Barrett has decided to hang it up. In fact, that's how he started off his statement. He says, "It's time for me to hang it up. It's been a great ride. I appreciate everything that came with it over the years. I'm ready to shift my full focus to my wife and kids and helping them realize their dreams and catch them. Anyone who caught their dreams before knows it takes work, time, and consistency required to reach them. I'm ready to start building them skills up in my kids, which will take 100% commitment. I know some it'll be a surprise, but I've been thinking about this for a while, and the decision has never been more clear than it is now." So there you go. He is retired, and that is, first of all, congratulations to Shaq Barrett on a hell of a career. It's a bummer that the Dolphin fan did not get to see him in action, because I think everybody was seeing, like, hey, could this be a nice little send-off season, resurgence season, much needed, and we won't know. He is going to commit to being a family man, and you can do nothing but respect that. The Barrett family also had a horrible thing happen to them a couple of years ago, where they lost one of their they lost their 2-year-old daughter. So obviously, this is a family that has to have that kind of stuff in a different type of perspective and priority than even most. And you get to this part of your career where you're in your early 30s, and I know this seems crazy, but this is how the NFL is. Like, you start wondering, like, do you want to keep doing it? Kenyon Drake, being at the age that he is, does he want to keep doing it? Teron Armstead, how much do we hear from him? He's thinking about retirement. Does he want to keep doing it? Hell, even Tyreek Hill was at a point where he had said this was going to be his last contract. Now, he's in a little bit of a different position because he's seen receiver money get crazy, and he goes, maybe I'll stick it out a little bit more. But I'm sure Tyreek Hill, with all the injuries, and we see him hobbling around out there throughout the season, I'm sure there's even times where he's like, yeah, do I want to keep doing this? So in a way, it does hurt from a selfish Dolphins fan perspective, because you're like, oh crap, they needed him. They needed this stopgap at probably their biggest position of need right now, with no Bradley Chubb, with no Jalen Phillips back yet. And you're like, what are they going to do? But then on the other side of it, I think there were already questions of like, hey, is this guy going to be able to produce for you anymore? And then you find out that maybe his heart wasn't going to be in it, because he was going to be like, I kind of wish it was my family. So maybe it is for the best. It's not like the best timing in the world, obviously, because it's right before training camp, but also it's like, well, he's not going to go at it half-hearted. So you just wish him all the best in the world, and hope that, he's happy and at peace with his decision, man. You can do nothing but congratulate that. Now, to the task at hand of the Dolphins, like, yeah, it does leave you in a bit of a scramble, because this is the most sensitive position they're dealing with right now. Usually it's offensive line, because you're always like, roll the dice, is Teron Armstead going to be out there? But now you're in this spot where everybody is waiting to find out when are Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips going to come back. You don't really know. When I was away on vacation, it was cool seeing Jalen Phillips, do the ladder drills, do the sprinting. He taught us about calf girth, which I was like, calf girth? Because it didn't even appear to me. I was like, oh yeah, I guess one of his calves isn't. Because I just saw the picture of him looking like a freak in that mirror, and I was like, he's gonna be fine. But people look at him, they're like, here's the thing, if somebody has a body that looks like Jalen Phillips, and you have one jerk who goes, yeah, but his calves aren't proportional. That has to drive somebody like Jalen Phillips absolutely insane, because this is a man who takes pride in his body. And probably for the first time in a long time, his calves aren't the same size that they should be. And some jackal who's like Finn's blowhard 72 is sitting there and is like, yeah, but your calves aren't even. It's like, you mother. He's like, it'll come back. The calves will be even again. Calf girth will come back. Either way. Yeah, we don't know. I mean, it's looking good. Everybody would say, it's looking good. We know that these recoveries are speeding up and are at a different rapid pace than they've ever been. But, yeah, right now the Miami Dolphins are in a bit of a scramble, because you look at what they got, and what they have are two babies out there. And they're like, Chop Robinson, Mo Kamara, welcome to the NFL, guys. Let's go see what you can do. And where else do they go? The reports are locally, Carl Lawson is likely the most is the most likely scenario to be brought in. Former Jet, former Bengal, didn't play too much last year with New York, so it's a stopgap. They also Barry Jackson mentioned this. This was an interesting one. They could go maybe back to the well of Emmanuel Ogbah. Bring some familiarity back. He maybe fits the Anthony Weaver, the Bob and Weave defense a little bit more. I don't know if I have a huge preference on either or who could be the guy, but it does seem like Lawson is a guy they've had in for a visit. You don't necessarily, maybe with a guy like with Weaver, do you want to go the route of Ogbah again if you're not going to stick with him the whole year? I don't know. But, yeah, it certainly leaves you in a bit of a scramble, dude. It's like, this is, even what Cameron Goodler they have, he's dealing with a patellar tendon. He's on the PUP list. The Dolphins are very, very thin right now at pass rush. They have some abilities to use probably some guys. Like, they have Calais Campbell they're bringing in, obviously, but that's another guy you're probably hoping, like, oh, do we want to crank up the 37-year-old's work rate all the way to 10? No, the whole point is, let's bring these guys in. He's also more of you're going to move him in on the defensive line, and it's not like the pure stand up and go get your quarterback guys. So, he can move all over the place, and he's talked about that, and he's a monster. But it's certainly one of these things where if you were to say, all right, what is the position where this you could probably least afford this? I'd say the Teron Armstead would be the one where it'd be Teron Armstead has decided, never mind, I don't want to play football. That would leave everybody scrambling. But this one is probably number 2. And probably, and maybe even right now for the situation of the roster, maybe number 1. Now, maybe one of these rookies, maybe Chop or maybe Mo Kamara comes out and they're dynamite. But listen, that's going to be, but that is a roll of the dice. You have no friggin' idea of what's going to happen. And immediately for this team, you're going into this entire process of the season, and you're just hopeful that the Dolphins, I think we all are looking at with this first, you're like, man, I hope that they can jump out and they have that firepower. We know what this offense should be capable of, but they really better be on their execution P's and Q's early on, because it feels like they are going to have to deal with a real issue of their team not being able to get pressure on the quarterback early on in the season. But it remains to be seen. But this certainly was definitely This certainly was a decision that you're like, oh, jeez, really? That he said he's hanging him up. Anyway, congrats, Shaq. Dolphins will be all right. Be fine. Figure it out. Phew.